It's been hard. It's been hard.
Still under investigation. It appears that DaCara willfully entered a vehicle being driven by Hugo Rene Hernandez Mendez, 35-year-old male.
DaCara Thompson's parents are holding on to one desperate wish: they just want their daughter back home. But the deeper we go into the details of what happened to 19-year-old DaCara Thompson, the darker and more unsettling it becomes. Each new revelation adds another disturbing layer, and it is nothing short of heartbreaking. The investigation is still ongoing, but here is what is currently known.
Came to the scene, we did discover that all of her personal belongings were in her car, such as her purse, her credit card, her debit cards. She even had $60 cash.
DaCara's disappearance is tied to a 35-year-old man named Hugo Rene Hernandez Mendez, who lives in Bowie, Maryland. Authorities believe DaCara willingly got into his vehicle in the early hours of August 23rd. What is baffling is how Hugo convinced her to enter his car, because all her belongings, her purse, debit and credit cards, and even $60 cash were left behind in her own SUV. That SUV was left in a no parking zone, suggesting she had only intended to be away for a short time. She had even told her father she would return soon. When police examined her abandoned car, they confirmed that nothing had been taken. This raises troubling questions. Why would DaCara leave her purse behind if she intended to spend more time with Hugo? Why would Hugo bring her back to his home where his family and children also live instead of going somewhere private like a hotel or motel, which is what many people in these situations would do to avoid suspicion? The decision seems reckless and unusual. Even more unsettling is the discovery made inside Hugo's room. Investigators allegedly found other women's underwear, fueling speculation that this might not have been the first time something like this happened. Could Hugo be a serial predator? Was Dara the only victim, or are there more? These are the questions tormenting both investigators and the public. Adding to the complexity is the silence from organizations like BLM. Many have pointed out that coverage and outrage appear muted because the suspect is not white. Some have gone as far as to argue that unless a black life is taken by a white person, it doesn't gain the same level of attention. In Dara's case, this silence has been deafening, leaving her family and community feeling abandoned. On top of that, cruel social media posts have circulated with baseless theories, suggesting that Dara may have been selling herself a claim that has only added more pain to her grieving family. The timeline of events is just as troubling. DaCara was first reported missing by her father around 9 p.m. On August 23rd, he explained to police that he had last seen her on the night of August 22nd. When she didn't return home, he called her, but she never answered. That same evening, she had texted him saying she was going to get gas and would be back soon, but she was never heard from again. By August 24th, her family's worry had intensified. Using the Find My Phone app, they tracked the last location of her device to the intersection of Jasmine Terrace and Riggs Road in Hyattsville. They rushed to the location, found her car, and immediately called the police. Dara was the youngest of 5 siblings, and the family had always shared their phone locations as a precaution. What they found only deepened their fears. The car was turned off, the phone location went silent, and her bank account remained untouched. Days went by with no sign of her until August 31st, when Maryland State Police responded to reports of a disabled vehicle on Route 50 in Annapolis. While checking the scene, officers discovered a body down the embankment of the South River, about 30 feet below the bridge. On September 3rd, detectives informed Dara's family that the body was indeed hers, identified through tattoos, jewelry, and photographs her family provided. Devastatingly, she had suffered skull and facial fractures, a brutal end to her young life. But the mystery didn't end there. Surveillance footage from August 23rd at 3 a.m. provided a chilling insight into Dara's final moments before she vanished. The footage captured Dara leaving her white SUV, walking down Riggs Road, and heading toward University Boulevard in Hyattsville. Cameras then showed her approach the driver's side of a black GMC Yukon Denali, speak briefly to the driver, and then walk around to the passenger side, where she got in. Authorities traced the SUV license plate, which led them directly to Hugo Hernandez Mendez's residence in Bowie. One haunting detail stands out. Dara had left her purse inside her SUV, which was illegally parked in front of a fire hydrant. Who abandons their purse, especially at 3 a.m.? Was she expecting to return immediately? Did she know Hugo well enough to feel safe, or was she coerced? Each unanswered question paints a more chilling picture. On September 3rd, detectives made their move. They arrived at Hugo Hernandez Mendez's home in Bowie just before 9 p.m. Outside, they spotted the same black GMC Yukon Denali Dara had last been seen entering. With enough evidence to push forward, they applied for and received a residential search warrant. Early the next morning, September 4th, investigators returned to execute it. But before they could serve the warrant, they saw a man leaving the house and getting into the front seat of the SUV. That man was Hugo. When questioned, Hugo told police he had been at the Galaxy nightclub on University Boulevard during the early morning hours of August 23rd. Coincidentally, that nightclub is located directly across the street from where Dara was last seen getting into his vehicle. Hugo claimed he was supposed to meet his ex-girlfriend there, but she never showed up. When officers pressed him further about Dara's disappearance, Hugo denied any involvement and quickly requested a lawyer. The search that followed uncovered disturbing evidence. Inside Hugo's bedroom and trash, investigators reportedly found what they believed to be Dara's blood, along with a broken white hand, pink French, manicured fingernail, strands of hair, a wig, and other items pointing to Dara. Even more incriminating were the multiple pairs of women's underwear and lingerie discovered inside the room, deepening fears that Dara was not Hugo's only victim. With this evidence, Hugo Hernandez Mendez was arrested and formally charged with first and second-degree murder in connection to Dara's death. IC also stepped in, issuing a detainer and publicly labeling him as a criminal illegal alien, while promising Dara's family that justice would be served. Investigators believe that Hugo killed Dara inside his bedroom in the early hours of August 23rd, then transported her body to Route 50 in Annapolis. There, he allegedly dumped her over the bridge into the South River. The thought of someone calmly moving her body, driving miles along Route 50, and then discarding her as if she were nothing is almost unbearable to process. It paints a picture of coldness and detachment that feels utterly inhuman. What makes the situation even harder to comprehend is that Hugo's home was not empty that night. Other people were living there and were questioned by police. One woman, Hugo's cousin, told investigators she lived in the house with her family, Hugo, and 2 other roommates. She admitted she could not believe her cousin was capable of something so horrific, but also noted that in the weeks leading up to Dara's disappearance, Hugo had become distant and his behavior unusual. She even claimed to have told him to confess. She also revealed that investigators took her husband, Hugo, and another relative in for questioning. Out of the 3, Hugo was the only one who was not released. The next morning, federal immigration agents returned to the home, this time taking her husband into custody on an unrelated immigration matter. She insisted her husband had nothing to do with the crime and had fully cooperated with authorities, but she expressed confusion about how her cousin's criminal case spiraled into an immigration case against her spouse. Another roommate provided chilling testimony. They reported hearing sounds of sexual activity between Dara and Hugo, followed by what they described as a grunting noise that suggested someone was not participating willingly. Hours later, when they woke up, they noticed Hugo's Jimsi Yukon was no longer parked outside. This struck them as strange since Hugo typically did not work on Saturdays, and his vehicle was almost always parked in front of the house. Other witnesses inside the home claimed to have no knowledge of what took place that night. Living on the opposite side of the house from Hugo, they said they did not see or hear anything unusual. Still, questions remain. Did they truly know nothing, or are they withholding information to protect him? Were they motivated by fear, family loyalty, or even self-preservation? The testimonies paint a murky picture. The cousin's uneasy comments, the husband's sudden immigration arrest, and the roommate's disturbing account of noises from Hugo's room all point to the possibility that the household knows more than it is saying. Investigators are still working to piece together those missing parts of the puzzle. What makes this case even more alarming is Hugo's criminal history. Long before Dara's tragic death, Hugo had already racked up a record filled with reckless driving charges. He had been arrested for DUI not once, but multiple times, and had even been cited for driving with an open container of alcohol in his car. Police records show he had a habit of running stop signs, blowing through red lights, parking illegally, and making dangerous lane changes. He had even been caught driving on a suspended license, defying orders to stay off the road. The bigger question is how someone with such a pattern of lawbreaking, coupled with his immigration status, was still free to roam the streets. These were not small infractions. They painted a clear picture of irresponsibility and disregard for the law. Yet despite his history, Hugo was still in the community with access to another young woman's life. Detectives are still trying to determine whether Dara knew Hugo before that night, but the unanswered questions pile up. Why did Dara leave her SUV illegally parked with her purse inside? Did Hugo promise to bring her right back? Did she feel safe enough with him to leave her belongings behind, or was she pressured and unaware of the danger? Detectives are still untangling the unanswered questions, but the case has only grown darker. Many are left wondering why Dara left her SUV in such a vulnerable spot, parked in front of a fire hydrant, purse still inside, phone off, and location tracker disabled. Did she think she would only be gone for a few minutes? Did Hugo promise her a quick return, or was she tricked into stepping into a dangerous situation she never expected? Equally troubling is the possibility that Hugo's family members may not be telling investigators the full truth. Were they withholding information to protect him, or out of fear of being implicated themselves? Did they see or hear more than they admitted? These are the questions that continue to haunt the investigation. And then comes the chilling idea, could this have been something Hugo had done before? In the community, whispers have spread that Hugo might be linked to other missing persons cases. Some even believe his collection of women's underwear and lingerie could be trophies, a disturbing signature of someone with a pattern of predatory behavior. The discovery has left many speculating that Dara might not be the only victim. Even more unsettling, shortly after Dara's body was found, reports emerged of another man being discovered dead just 2 days later in the same area. Locals have begun connecting the dots, questioning if Hugo could also be tied to that case and possibly more. While nothing has been proven yet, the community's suspicions are difficult to ignore. Throughout this entire ordeal, the level of coldness attributed to Hugo's actions has shocked both authorities and the public. The thought of calmly loading Dara's body into a vehicle, driving along Route 50, and tossing her over the bridge like she was disposable is beyond disturbing. It speaks to an absence of humanity and compassion that many struggle to comprehend. Inside the house, witnesses gave conflicting accounts. One roommate admitted to hearing sexual activity, followed by sounds of distress. Another insisted they didn't know anything because they lived on the opposite side of the house. The cousin said she was stunned her family member could commit such a crime, but also admitted Hugo's behavior had shifted weeks before. Even her husband, who was later taken by immigration authorities, became entangled in the case despite her insistence that he had nothing to do with Dara's death. All these testimonies create a picture full of contradictions and suspicions. What is also alarming is Hugo's lengthy criminal history that preceded Dara's disappearance. For years, he had accumulated charges and infractions, including multiple DUI, driving with an open container, ignoring stop signs and red lights, and making unsafe lane changes. He even continued driving despite having his license suspended. His reckless disregard for the law should have raised more red flags, yet somehow he remained free and able to endanger others. The fact that he was still roaming the community, despite his record and immigration status, leaves many wondering how such a system failure could happen. At this point, investigators are working tirelessly to determine whether Dara had any prior connection to Hugo before that night. Was their meeting pre-arranged? Was it random? Did she believe she was safe with him, or was she manipulated? The surveillance footage showing her calmly walking up to his SUV, leaving her purse behind and stepping inside has left everyone grasping for answers. Theories continue to circulate. Some insist Dara was kidnapped. Others believe she may have willingly met with Hugo, not realizing the danger she was stepping into. The fact that her phone location was shut off adds even more mystery. Did she turn it off herself, or did Hugo do it? The truth remains unclear. Local chatter has also fueled speculation that Hugo could be connected to multiple missing persons in the region. People point to his collection of women's underwear as evidence of a disturbing pattern. Some even believe he could be linked to other unsolved cases, including that of the man found dead days after Dara's discovery. While investigators have not confirmed these theories, the idea of more victims adds to the chilling nature of the case. For Dara's family, the pain is unbearable. The youngest of 5 siblings, she had her entire life ahead of her. Her father, who last spoke with her when she said she was getting gas and would return soon, now has to live with the crushing reality that she never came home. To lose her in such a brutal and senseless way has left her loved ones devastated. As investigators push forward, the unanswered questions remain. Did Hugo act alone, or did others in the house know more than they admitted? Was this truly a random tragedy, or part of a larger, more sinister pattern? And most importantly, how many more victims could there be? At its core, this case is not only about the horrifying loss of DaCara Thompson, but also about systemic failures, unanswered questions, and the possibility of hidden truth. Until investigators piece everything together, the community and Dara's family are left searching for justice and clarity in a situation that feels almost too chilling to believe.